There's no easy way of explaining how I know these things, but the easiest way to show you what I mean would be by watching the movie Minority Report. If this is a movie you have not seen before, I recommend that you do. It's actually really good. We live in a world that operates on free will. So by law, I need to disclose that I make no representations on the accuracy of the information within these videos, and that it is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell. Chances are these sort of videos may become blacklisted by YouTube, and this is the only way of me getting these out to you and for you to be able to know when I upload next. Thanks again for watching and helping me piece these stories together. On July 6, 2016, I had a dream encounter with someone by the name of Matthew Keant. This encounter overlapped with a different storyline within my dreamscape, so this might be a two-parter. I'm going to focus just on Matthew in this one, and the second video will delve a little bit deeper into the other things that took place within the same scene. To make a long story short, it seemed like this was some sort of high school reunion kind of dream where people were knocking on my door and calling me outside and wanting to reunite. It was almost like my entire class was out on my street, and then later on I invited them over to my backyard to hang out. During that time, while we're all outside in the backyard, this person who I don't know in waking life emerges from the trees in my backyard. So I'm standing on the steps of my backyard deck, and through the bushes this stranger emerges with two of my other friends in waking life. And they're all saying, "We found him, we found him." So this guy comes out from the trees and everyone's looking at him, gasping, reacting like as if they haven't seen someone in the longest time. They present him to me, and in my dream I'm asking him, "Are you Matthew Keant?" He replies, "Yes." And instantly I am overwhelmed with emotions. I could feel almost like a lump forming in my throat. I had these emotions of, I haven't seen you in years, like as if he had been terribly missed, and it was such a relief finally locating him, finding him, seeing him again. And then I heard a voice in my mind say, "The boy who was once missing is now found." But the man that I was looking at wasn't necessarily a boy, so it seems like he had been gone for years. You know, when I was looking at this missing guy, he was Caucasian, tall, really lanky, looked like he had a really rough time, looked like he didn't sleep very much, he seemed very agitated, very paranoid. He had brunette hair, kind of swept off to the side. Suddenly, Matthew takes out a gun and starts waving it around at everyone, yelling that he needs to leave, that they are after him, and that any of us could potentially be them. Matthew lost his mind and wanted to shoot anyone because he thought that they were reptilian. I'm standing between him and everyone else, and I'm trying to hold down his forearm so that he just lets it go, doesn't shoot, and just calms down. And then he shouts, "They're here." We all look through the trees that he came from, and suddenly a group of reptilians emerge from those trees and then go transparent. All we could tell was that they were coming nearer because of the creases in the grass from their footsteps as they approached. The story pretty much ends there. The part 2 will talk more about the reptilian situation, but I really want to just focus on what this story has to do with something I came across online years after. Remember that disclaimer I said at the beginning of my video? Well, this is why. When I get information, sometimes it's not always clear. I'm needing to piece it together. Remember how I said his name was Matthew Keant? Well, I was wrong. I misinterpreted the information, and what I was getting was something different than what it actually was. And I think the closest thing to it, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not the kind of person that tries to just make things fit. If stories don't add up, if pieces don't fit, I'm not going to call it what it is. And so by saying that, there's a story that I came across and the timelines match up, which is insane because this is one of the first times that it's actually been validated. The name of the missing person was Matthew Green, and he was from Kent. And at that time, after receiving the information I got, I did try looking online and could not find anything. Although the articles I'm sharing with you, some of these were actually published in May, 2 months earlier of the same year. But really it seems to have just been an overlay of his last name Green and the place where he was born, which was in Kent. A little background on Matthew Green. He had a really wonderful childhood growing up until his teens. Unfortunately, there was an event that took place from misidentification, allegations that weren't true, and it affected him terribly. It affected him to the point where he ended up disappearing. He disappeared and was later found 6 years later in Spain. And at that time when they had found him, they had also mentioned that he was struggling with schizophrenia. I say this with the most amount of sensitivity. I want to respectfully talk about schizophrenia and how something like this takes place. It is a mental disorder, but it's something that can come up at any point of your life. Symptoms of schizophrenia have to take place within a 30-day time frame consecutively. And so once someone like Matthew starts experiencing the several symptoms, as it mentioned when he was younger, it's interesting how no one was able to quite call it what it was at that time. I'm not too sure about how they handled Matthew's mental state, if he was given any support, if after being falsely accused for something, it may have caused himself to split in a sense where mentally resulting in the schizophrenia to happen. A lot of times through trauma, several different kinds of mental disorders can come up. The articles don't give too much information on Matthew's personal life. From the articles, they did mention that he did have a strong family and friend support system. He up and left without a trace. Paranormal sense, it makes you wonder, is this schizophrenia or is this his awakening? A lot of articles also mention that he was heavily into drugs as a way for him to cope with the allegations and the trauma from the experience. Delving into some heavy drugs actually does open you up to other things as well. So I find it very interesting that there is a possibility, there is more to the story, and for someone like Matthew is having a hard time finding his voice, may have very well reached out to me in a spiritual manner. You know, and it's not even in just schizophrenia. We're also seeing this in people who have autism. There's more and more information coming forward as the years progress on people expanding their mental capacity into the psychic realm.